We are finally on the way. We will get what we need for the dragon who owns our lives, and hopefully find something for ourselves too. Oh, and the Hara family has to get theirs. And the triangle. By Mormo, we have really brought on a lot of partners for this heist. Hopefully we can please them all with what we bring back. Otherwise we'll be as dead as I would have been if Attila hadn't saved me from that sea creature. And again, I can only see this ending with horrific death. Perhaps it would have been good to just get it over with. Suppose I will see you soon, Serpent Mother. This is Red Moon Roleplaying.
When last we left our brave party of ne'er-do-wells crossing the blossoming sea, they were on their way to the fortress, the citadel of Vilhaim. They had already encountered a fair few dangers on the water, but with their two new companions, Usborne the Sea Mage and Dread the Sorceress Enchanter, they are hopeful that they can gain access to the citadel interior, procure the armour, along with the shield that a certain number of Asathi are looking for, emerge in one piece, return to land, and be slightly richer and alive, given that there is a fire-rack dragon waiting to devour them should they fail. The crew of the Asathi vessel are able to see from where they are now the citadel rising from the water in the distance. A large black and grey block that, despite all rumours of its movement and internal mechanisms, it's impossible to see it moving from your current distance. You're not sure how much closer to really get. After all, if it's a citadel, it's likely there are people manning the walls, on the lookout for raiders and visitors, such as yourself.
As I see the citadel there in the distance, it looks more like a normal building to me. I turn to Kadar and I say,
"So this is supposed to have grown out of the stomach of Golthaga?"
Yes, apparently. I'm not sure how true that is. I take a moment to check over all my things. Have I, perhaps since our last encounter, had time for a short rest?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's fair.
So yes, I've taken a moment to get some rest, but I'm still looking quite apprehensive now. I remark to my companions, "Right, well, I've been studying the maps as best I can, but I'm still not entirely sure what I'm looking at. And I have been trying to study those maps we were given by Lady Hara. What information do they really give us now that we're this close to the citadel?"
It gives you the vague shape of the citadel. Again, you've been told that it shifts and moves around, but it's a roughly cubic building that is pretty vast, all told. You've probably never been in a structure quite its size. According to the map, you can see where such features as the courtyard, the banquet hall, the armoury, the barracks are, and there's some indication as to the inner workings of the building as well, such as the vault. However, you've already been informed that the easiest way for you to gain access to the vault will be through an underwater passage.
Yes, I tap the map with my fingers. Right, well, this is where we're going to be going then. Are we nearly there? The time is probably soon that we'll need to be swimming.
Yes, I'm not really looking forward to getting into that water, but it certainly beats taking trying to deal with those guards. How close do you think we'll need to get?
The sea itself is relatively calm. You think you could swim quite easily, and the sky above, the rain has stopped and it's nice and warm. So it could in fact be quite leisurely were you to remove armour and jump into the water. However, you are of course reliant on a map written for you by someone who didn't appear to be a sailor herself. And for that matter, this may not be up to date. You have no idea whether the mechanisms that turn Vilhaim around and into itself affect the underwater parts of the building as well.
Well, Dread and Osborne, what do you two think? Should we dive in now or in a minute? I don't know.
Osborne, who is going back to looking rather drunk and seasick, despite her status as a sea mage, sighs. How many of us are trying to enter the citadel? All of us.
Well, I mean, it only has to be the three of us, really. Just make sure that we got the enough spell protections that we need to get under the water.
Well, don't forget Dread's coming, Attila, otherwise there was no point to him coming in the first place.
Indeed, he says. Maybe, says Osborne, let's just go over the plan again. I'm assuming we're not just going to be swimming in, blades brandished, and killing everyone we meet. So, we have this ability, we can go underwater, we can breathe the water. Wonderful. That seems to be a guarantee at this point. We've got the magic, we've got the potions, that's something we can do.
Yes. From there, we then hope to find the underground entrance we've been told that should potentially guide us directly to the vault. Now, I'm sure we won't be right at the vault. There's probably going to be tunnels, but hopefully at least that will bypass a lot of the upper levels securities. Now, we'll probably encounter something down there, but hopefully we won't be down there too long, and then we get into the vault, get out, same way we came in, and get out of here. Hopefully as well that distraction will be happening, and at this point I go to the rails of the boat and start looking around. Can I even see that other pirate ship on the horizon somewhere?
You cannot at this time. The one that was supposed to cause a distraction on the other side of the citadel, you cannot see it yet.
When are we supposed to... Were we supposed to give them a signal or something? Fasaf! What details, man, details.
I think we made some decisions on that, and I try to just confirm here. Did we actually make any agreements with the Triangle regarding how to trigger this? They would cause a distraction. We know as much as that. We must have had some indication of what time this would happen.
Yes, I think it's fair to say that you made a deal with the crew that they would arrive at a certain time. So based on where the sun is in the sky, you can predict that they will be at their allotted location within the next 20-30 minutes. They're taking a fast vessel because, quite frankly, they don't want to be blown out of the water by anyone in Vilhaim. So that's probably why you can't see them yet. They will be nipping past the citadel and then back the other way again just to get eyes on them. But they won't just keep going around and around and around hoping that in that time you can procure this suit of armour.
Alright, so another 20-30 minutes. Let's make our final preparations and then we get into the water. Osborne, you will of course prepare us with the spells that we need, because I'm not particularly looking forward to drowning here.
Oh yeah, that's not a problem. I can bolster you. That's fine. What's Dread here for? I'm here as a member of the Thieves Guild. And of course I have my own talents that the Asathi have requested.
That's right. Hopefully your ability to perhaps charm or distract someone could be very useful indeed. Yes.
I'm also to ensure that the Triangle does not get bilked out of this deal.
Oh, that as well, of course, yes. I then move to start checking the straps I've prepared to attach to Attila. And say, alright then, let's begin, and then when you're ready, I'll strap onto you as best I can.
I've got one last question. Well, I probably should have asked before we set off. This armour. Or shield. or whatever chest of gold doubloons or something that we're going to be lifting from this vault. My spells can make you breathe underwater, that's fine. Swimming whilst carrying a set of full plate, if it's full plate, that might be a challenge.
Well, I pat my great lizard.
Well, we've got Klazek for that as well. He's a great swimmer and can carry a little bit of extra weight.
Ah, right. That makes sense to me. Okay. Ah, and look, there are our friends. And looking into the distance, you can indeed see the black sail of a triangle vessel approaching. Not your location, the opposite side of the citadel.
Well, there's no time like the present. I suppose it's time for us to go, huh?
Certainly. Yes, all right then. Let's get going. Gosh, I'm really not looking forward to the swim, but it's all gonna be fine. Absolutely fine. Right, I say in a very nervous fashion.
I put my my arm on your shoulder. Kadar, don't worry. Mormo is going to protect us.
I give you a bit of a look at that of mild annoyance.
I smile and I nod. Just, and I turn to get towards the water.
I quite roughly and practically just attach the straps to myself and heave up Kadar on my back to have him strapped there.
Indeed, and you'd probably find I weigh just about the same as a small sack of flour, so barely anything at all, really. I'm only carrying my rod, and also a bit of rope.
Well, try and kick your legs. See if you can aid us in the swimming. Otherwise, I'll be fine.
Wonderful. All right, strapped in, I say as I strap myself in. Let's do this.
Let me work my magic. I'll stay up with the boat, of course. You don't want it just floating off, do you? Osborne smiles, but you'll be safe. Then she drags her fingers through the water, flicks each of you with droplets, and there's a crackle of energy around her. As well, you know, magic sorcery in Skarn has always had an elemental effect, and despite the body of water around you and the danger that feels like it comes with the static that surrounds her, there's a buzz and jolt of electricity as her eyes flame, and you suddenly feel yourself struggling to breathe. She gives you a shove into the water, and suddenly you can breathe perfectly normally.
I try to croak out with the last bit of air that I have.
How long?
Best guess, I think you've probably got an hour, maybe a bit longer. Add however long you can hold your breath to it. An hour and 3 minutes.
And I dive down into the water, starting to swim towards the fortification.
You all make your way through the calm waters, swimming through schools of fish. As mentioned before, the Blossoming Sea is lousy with fish. There's ridiculous amounts here. And of course, some are predatory, as you know, but there's nothing that seems terribly dangerous in your immediate path. It's all quite beautiful, to be honest.
I see Klazek lazily just opening his mouth from time to time, eating as he swims along.
It's a buffet for him, as fish of all kinds swim down his maw.
I try to keep him focused on this path so he doesn't swim away, at least.
He's a well-trained riding lizard. He'll be fine. As you make your way toward the citadel's base, you find yourself approaching a vast coral reef. You're not sure where exactly Gulthaga is supposed to be, if the rumours are true and the citadel was built on top of him, because from the first look at this great mountain of coral and stone, it would appear to have been here for centuries, millennia, possibly. But you swim forward. There's no need for you to roll to do so. The water is absolutely as peaceful as you could possibly want it to be. The only way you could damage yourself here, crash into the rocks, is if you wanted to do it yourself. And so, going off of the strong memory of our warlock, Kadar, you are able to find where the entrance should be.
And he's pointing me along as he is on my back. I try to speak to him every now and then. Does any sound come out?
Yeah, although it's almost like a form of telepathy. You can all interpret the ripples of water as they connect with your ears. None of you speak with the same accents as you normally would. It's like you're all speaking a completely foreign language.
That's useful. Yes, I say, over there. Over there. Yes, that direction. Keep going. I have been voicing directions the entire journey, even though I myself am completely strapped in and unable to move from Attila's back.
I am struck with immense fascination over this whole sensation. Having not really been close to the sea before, here I suddenly am in the middle of it, swimming like this, and speaking in a strange telepathic way. It is... I feel like I've just lost a few years as I'm a bit younger again, with this so much excitement of this.
You find the gap in the coral, shaped like a triangle itself, but not equilateral, long and stretched to the utmost point, and narrow at its base. You can see this triangular fissure in the rock that, remarkably, is exactly where you expected it to be. It's dark within, complete pitch black. You would be swimming into the unknown.
At this, I will tilt my head a little and see if I can see better. After all, I can see in all darkness, magical or non-magical. Due to my patron, of course.
As you peer into the black void, you can see within it not any particular shapes or colours. This does seem to be naturally hewn from the rock. What you do discern is the great rush of water going in. This isn't an expulsion chamber. It appears to be sucking the water inward. So were you to get close to it, you would probably be dragged bodily into the base of the citadel.
There's a strong current then.
Yes, it's probably some sort of drain. It could be the only way in, though. Well, as long as we're aware of what's going on, I don't think there'll be anything too dangerous, because it would all be being drawn in, if you get my meaning.
I proceed cautiously, trying to sort of hold a grip along the wall as I go. I'm actually bringing out a small pick from a very small pick, mind you, the thing you would use to climb, and hold it against the side as I move slowly towards this darkness.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to make a strength check to see whether you are able to control your entry into this passage.
I do have an extra passenger after all. It's going to make it difficult. Can I use athletics?
You can indeed.
I roll 10.
10. You lodge your pick into the coral, but unfortunately it snaps off. And you find yourself being dragged by the current. You have a little bit of control. You didn't fail catastrophically. And so you don't just spin out of control and bash into the walls, but you are still dragged in.
As we're being dragged in, I kind of yell out, at least so he can avoid any obstacles he might not be able to see, like, "Watch out! Don't dive head first, you fool!"
And as my pick snaps, I loosen my hands and I keep them free, trying to maneuver, keep us from spinning, push us away from possible outcrops, and mostly focusing on that though, and hoping that the rest of the team, including Klazek, are coming along with us.
And I try to learn from what my companions are telling me about how to best approach this. Will I also need to roll a strength roll as I
Yes,
go in here?
please.
I roll a 5.
You also fail to get a purchase on the stone, as instead, unlike your companion who has a modicum of control over his entry into this natural structure, you do not. I'm going to ask you to roll a dexterity check, please.
All right. Can I perhaps... Would acrobatics fall underneath here, or just a pure dexterity?
I'll let you use acrobatics. If you have it, you can use it.
13.
13. Very well. You only graze yourself on the coral. You don't get impaled on it. It doesn't smash against your skull as you enter. And that does mean you take 3 points of damage as it cuts a gash into your arm.
I scream out a bit in pain, but it is nothing. And I'm at least satisfied that I'm moving in towards the citadel, that we've actually found where we're supposed to go. I didn't think that it would be this easy, but then again, there's probably more to come.
Your lizard is the lizard is more than capable of swimming its way in deftly, despite not being a deep sea animal. It benefits greatly from Usborne's magic. And then we have Dread, who follows up behind the bunch of you, and like a fish glides in, showing all of you up. Showing how a human does it. As you reach the end of the passage, you find yourself, again, jetting through the water. And you're not just going to collide headfirst with a wall, because the tunnel suddenly curves downward. You're going even further into the stone, further than perhaps you thought you might. And the descent is rapid, and it's vertical. This isn't some gentle slope. This is a plummet through the water that's dragging you quite unexpectedly and definitely magically to deposit you into a chamber. You find yourself falling through a stone ceiling where the water just stops, and falling around 20 feet before you hit the ground. Could I have a dexterity roll from everyone, please?
I scream the whole way.
I get a 15.
You're fine.
Having given up trying to hold on to something with the speed and the acceleration, I just try to make myself ready for whatever comes, and I roll for acrobatics, quickly lashing out my tail as we fall through. And I roll 24.
You land deftly on your feet like this was the descent you were always meant to make.
I mean, I rolled a 23, but at the same time, imagine it probably only helped Attila's descent because I couldn't really move anyway.
Very good. Dread, however, despite showing off with his swim through the water, does not do nearly as well as he was deposited into this great stone bowl of a chamber and crashes down painfully onto his back with a "Huh!" and the air is driven out of him. And very literally, the air is driven out of him. You all find yourself breathing once more. You are no longer in water. You've no idea what kind of magic that was, what kind of current was drawing the water to the top of this room, and you can see upwards there's an almost slightly inverted dome in the center of the ceiling where the water is just bulging like a bubble that wants to burst and fill the chamber, but there's some kind of film preventing it from doing so. You don't know where in that case the water is going. If it's dragging all the water to that point, is it some kind of portal maybe? And you just don't have the key to pass through it normally?
I frown a little because now I'm concerned that this won't be a place we can exit from. Is that a correct assumption?
It would certainly be difficult to, unless you have a way of reversing the flow of water.
I start removing the straps and carefully setting down Kadar on the ground. I see to my lizard Classic. Did he land as well? Did he?
Oh yeah, he's fine. Landed on all legs.
And are we at all wet now, or did this magic just keep the water away from us? Or?
You are completely dry. You're not sure whether that was the magic or whether it was passing through that film that somehow sapped all of the moisture out of your clothes and off your skin.
And I look up at that. Is there anything... Is there, like, other things circling in? Other things being drawn in? Fish or stuff? Or was it as if it was just targeted us to be drawn in, for example?
There's no fish being drawn in right now, but looking around you, you can see, in various states of decay, the bones of large fish.
I wonder what the point of such a place is.
Well, it's clear that it's designed somehow to bring people in. Not out, though.
And I look up at the bulging bubble.
And I walk up to Kadar and I say, "See, I told you."
Don't be too optimistic just yet. I start scratching my chin. I have a look at this room and the magic above us. If this is a spell, do I have any knowledge of a way of maybe simply reversing it? Because then, if it was reversed and pushed out the water, we could use it to escape.
Do an intelligence roll, please.
I shall, and I shall add Arcana.
I should note that this room, while not lit by fire, is bathed in a light blue, almost violet hue from that bulging bubble.
I roll an 18.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, you're able to spot something that may well answer your question. Around the ceiling are 6 sigils, symbols, arcane markings. You recognize some of them. They relate to Titans and Titan magic. And from what you can see, they can be shifted around on the ceiling. So whatever pattern they're in right now, that's probably what is causing this constant flow of water in this direction. It may be as simple as shifting them in the complete opposite pattern to make it go the other way, but you're not sure whether it's that simple.
Interesting. Well, come on, Dredd, get on your feet. Look. Later, if we maybe reverse those sigils, that could reverse the water flow, and we could use this as an escape route. Excellent. All right, then. And I look around. Where does the chamber lead? Is there a door leading somewhere or a tunnel?
It's funny you should ask. There are several holes in the walls, slightly above where you are, about head height, 5 foot, and another one up about 10 foot, another one about 15 foot. They're in different walls of the chamber, which, as I mentioned, is shaped like a large bowl. Those holes glisten with slime. There's an immediate sinking feeling in your stomach that this is some kind of feeding chamber, that big fish are drawn into this huge bowl to feed whatever creatures emerge from those tunnels.
I frown a little as I notice this and remark to the others, well, I think this chamber is used to feed some of the guardians of the vault, which means that all of those tunnels probably lead to something unpleasant.
Well, there's no other way, is there? Is there any other way out that doesn't move towards the Guardians?
Oh, well, do you remember the way that we're supposed to go? Surely it was one of these ways, then?
Well, no, the way we're supposed to go is towards vault at this stage. Looking at the tunnels, which one do I think heads in the direction the vault is supposed to be in?
It takes a little while for you to orientate yourself. In fact, I'm going to make you make a wisdom roll, please, to do that very thing. You have been shot through a passage at a fast blur of motion, and indeed, the map didn't mark it as such.
I roll a 7.
You really couldn't tell.
I look at your face and I see that you look a bit uncertain. So I frown and I say,
Well, which way do we go?
Fasaf, which way do we go?
I try to make some kind of judgment, then seeing as how my compatriot is uncertain. May I also roll wisdom to try to figure this out?
Yeah, you saw the map. Dread opines, well, if none of you know the way, what I was always taught is you go for the passage that's driest. At least then you're less likely to get eaten by something.
I roll a 3.
Yeah, not one clue.
Then driest it is. Attila, which one looks least slime-filled?
I look around and try to make an idea of what seems least threatening.
They all seem pretty damn threatening, because while they are completely dark, each one has an odour to it, and they are similar odours. Rotting, blood, and yet Attila, being of a scavenger race, you have a nose for these things. You know the oldest stench of death, and that tunnel in the middle, the 10-foot one, you would think that's the one that's least used. Now, for what reason that would be, you're not sure, but for want of no better option, Dread speaks up again. And I just want to point out to everyone, if we are down here for longer than an hour, I might have, he taps his side, a way for one of us to get out and breathe the water. So if that happens, I can always go out and bring back help.
Well, good to know. You won't be able to carry that much treasure yourself anyways.
I sniff around, looking at the place, looking suspicious, and I point then to the middle passage and I say,
Here's the one that's been least used. I don't know if that's because it's the largest creature in there, or if it's the most lazy one.
Well, then it's going to have to do. You go first, Attila. I'll follow behind, because I can see. And then Dread, Fasaf, you arrange yourself however you wish. Let's get going. We don't have time to dwell here anymore.
I start moving in, drawing my great sword, and seeing quite well in the dark, being of the Slytherin race, I try to carefully look out for anything that might be lurking, either in the ceiling or somewhere around in this tunnel.
Do another wisdom roll.
19.
You're fortunate, you think. Judging from the lack of fresh scratch marks and fresh slime in this tunnel, you think that this one probably is safe. Again, all that means is there's nothing living in it. Doesn't mean it's not dangerous. But as you peer in, make some tentative shuffles forward, you can be reliably informed there's nothing alive in here.
I feel a bit safer knowing that, or at least strongly believing that, and so I motion for the others to follow.
And I do so.
As do I, my eyes peering carefully into the dark.
Very good. You shuffle forward. The tunnel is large enough for each of you, being relatively small creatures, well, on the whole, to climb through at a walk, but bent double. Or you can be on your knees and do so. Those of you with knees. You make your way down, and it does slope downward, and your initial inclination is this is a bad thing, because you want to be going up toward the citadel. But again, you don't know that those other tunnels are any better, so at the very least, you can explore this one. You make your way through, slowly, surely, checking the walls, checking the floor, checking the ceiling, making sure nothing is just about to leap out and grab you. Occasionally there's a crack in the wall, and you pause, and you make some tentative looks, see whether you can see whether there's something in there. But it all appears safe. The slope is gentle. Most worryingly is that you are noticing this tunnel, unlike the tunnel that brought you into the large chamber, does not appear naturally hewn. Whatever has carved this out has basically been eating the rock, you think, or blasting it away.
Curious. I say this, and I say it to Dread, and I'm thinking about... I would like to ask you, how has he been since the boat, basically? I saved him from falling overboard. Has he been grateful? Has he been brushing us off? Is this what kind of character is this?
He's been utterly passive about it. You're not sure whether that's ingratitude or whether, as a pirate, he's just used to being swept overboard occasionally and having to be plucked out of the water.
It's what you do on the boat. You just might help each other out.
You make your way forward. The slope is never sharp. It occasionally curves, goes round a bend. You occasionally stumble upon a bone, but they're old, and they all appear to be thin fish bones. They snap rather than crunch underneath you. And then you see the tunnel widening. As one branch heads, to your best guess, west and up, and the other one heads east and down. You are up at a crossroads.
Right, well, I think we want to be going upwards, because, again, the vault should be above us. I think we've gone down very far, so I vote for up.
Agreed. Up it is.
Do you know that? You don't think that the vault is, like, below everything?
Well, that's actually a pretty good point. That might be safer, right? The furthest down in the fortress, perhaps?
The only problem is these tunnels aren't natural, you can tell. The beast has been making them, so it's not like... that. If anything, that might be its layer down where it's safe.
Yeah.
Well, if that's the direction of the treasure, I don't know.
Alright, we're a bit undecided. Dread, what's your view?
Well, you know what they always say. Up is closer to air, down is closer to earth. And if I was to bury my treasure anywhere, it would be closer to earth. If I was the people that built this citadel, and I wanted to put my treasure out of the hands of intruders like us, I'd put it as far away from anyone's hands as I could. So I would be going down.
Alright, then I suppose down it is. Come on, everyone, let's hurry up.
And I start moving down, and I think about the map that we have seen. Did it indicate anything when it came to levels? Like where, level-wise, this place?
It did, but it didn't give measurements. The vault, it implied, was about 7 floors below the ground floor of the citadel. Right now, as far as you can see from the stone around you, you're not really in the citadel, you're in the bedrock.
Well, we're probably quite far below, considering we were sucked down with that current. I don't know. They were saying that the things living here was what were they trying to keep out, that there were things below. I'm a bit curious about that, but we're not really in the vault. I mean, we're not in the citadel, are we?
I suppose you have a point. But, well, there's some kind of logic in hiding things very far down.
Yeah, well, let's see then. Let's go down.
Only one way to find out.
Of course, do you know what they also say? He says, getting irritating now. It's a lot easier to climb down than it is to climb up. If we go down that way... Well, this is why I guess we brought rope. He starts hammering it into the stone, and the noise it makes is actually quite thunderous as it bounces off the walls.
Well, I'll let him do that, but I sharpen my ears, if you could say so, for any other noise that would be echoing back through the tunnels.
Could you do a wisdom roll, please?
4.
4. The bouncing, hammering noise of him knocking a peg into the stone and tying a rope around it and then doing another peg is too much. In fact, it hurts your head.
I look at him and I wheeze, "Do you really have to do that?"
Well, what would you prefer? If we went all the way down there and found that it was too steep to climb back up? Would just be something's long-term lunch then, wouldn't we?
Is it quite steep now then?
It's getting steeper if you're going to go further down.
Well, I keep going down. I'm a natural climber, so I normally climb at speed. I'm going to start climbing a little bit ahead, because I want to get away from the noise.
Very good. As you make your way down, you can see movement in the walls. You're not too far from the rest of the group. You think only about 20-30 feet along the tunnel, when you start seeing what appears to be shifting and rotating in the stone, as if you're entering a great corkscrew. The tunnel itself doesn't change dimensions, but the walls appear to be turning in opposite directions.
This must be what they were mentioning, that the place is somehow alive. I wonder if we are somehow in the bowels of this titan. Is it still safe to move along on or to climb on?
If you want to get that close to the corkscrew, you can test it and find out. It's not moving rapidly.
I will at that. To see what this is and how it reacts if I do touch it.
The hammering comes to an end as Dredd has finished hooking up all of the ropes, and as it does, you put your claw on one of these shifting, rotating circles of stone, and you realise it isn't stone. As you put your hand down, your palm, I should say, as you put your palm down, you find it in contact with a viscous, wet substance. Natural inclinations to pull your claw away, only to see that there are thick pseudopods dragging from the wall attached to your fingers.
Ugh. I try to pull off.
It lets out a shriek at you, a burbling shriek, as the walls scream and scramble around you. Roll an initiative, please. The rest of you further up the tunnel hear this.
I frown a little, and I quickly, now the rope's been attached, go forward just a little to see if in the dark I can see what on earth is going on down there.
I roll a 21.
Well, you do considerably better than the slime. And yes, those of you looking down the tunnel are able to see a little of the back of your companion as he stands over this this part of the shifting wall, but without getting as close as he, you're not able to see the nature of the beast.
Attila, what's going on down there?
The walls are alive! And what happens, is it sort of, is something coming out? Is something moving towards me? You say the walls are shifting.
The walls are shifting and adhesive, and as the walls shift, you can see that adhesive slime is coasting towards you. It's not like it's rolling down the tunnel. It's not a flow that's going to catch you in it. Rather, it's seeping along the walls and emerging from tiny gaps in the walls. and as it does so, you can find yourself losing your footing, almost disappearing into the stone. But it's your turn first.
Right, I'm going to try to bound backwards out of that situation towards the others.
If you could roll a strength, please.
Is there any chance I could use acrobatics instead, using my tail and trying to whip around?
Definitely.
13.
13. Oh, well, let's see what I roll. Surprisingly, you manage it. You manage to bound back out of this thing's grip, but the tunnel itself is becoming carnivorous and roiling up toward you.
The whole tunnel is moving.
Not in the sense that it is flexing and trying to crush you. The walls themselves are all becoming liquid around you. Down all the way up towards you.
I try to run for it, get out of that, and I shout,
The walls, they're coming alive!
I kind of step back a little myself on the rope and kind of then hold it with the others and say, "Quick, use the rope, get up here now, quickly, quickly!"
And I see the rope and I try to grab at it and heave myself forward even faster if possible.
As you didn't command Dread to stop hanging the ropes, you're able to do that. And so you climb your way up, leaves you at the crossroads again. "What are we going to do?" says Dread. "Are we going to go up there or go back the way we came?"
Well, I poke my head forward a little. Do I now see anything coming in pursuit?
You can see the walls rapidly turning liquid and viscous on their way up towards you. And this is happening in a matter of seconds, so make your choice.
I blink and go, "Yes! Quick! The other way, the other way!"
You all rapidly attempt to climb. Who's going first?
I as soon as I notice this happening, I just start climbing as fast as I can, running as fast as I can.
Who's next?
I shall follow swiftly after.
Okay.
I'll probably jump up on top of Klazek and try to bound upwards with him, shouting,
Can't you blast it with fire or something?
Well, if we really need to, but again, I can't keep doing it too often. Let's try and get away a bit first.
And are you leaving Dread to go last, or are you encouraging him to go in the middle of the party? This is important.
I'm trying to get him to go before me.
Okay.
I might heave him up on my lizard mount if he is too slow.
Very good. Okay, Dread isn't slow. He is a remarkably quick sorcerer and does, as soon as he's given, well, he doesn't take permission, but seeing that you're hanging back for just a split second, he darts ahead. Doesn't need to get on your riding lizard. So up you bound, up this narrow, tight corridor, which is far narrower than the previous ones. You can only go one abreast, and it's a crawl, a rapid, ignominious crawl as you attempt to get away from this thing. At the back of the party, we of course have Attila. And Attila, are you checking behind you, or are you just charging forward?
I'm checking behind me, trusting Klazek to keep the pace.
Okay, you check behind you. Things that look like tongues are emerging from the wall now, tasting for whatever was it within that passage. Hundreds of these writhing tongues are just emerging from the stone and the mud and just darting and lashing around, trying to gain a flavour of things. And clearly they can taste where you've been, because the walls continue to shift and roil up towards you. You can't see an end to this thing. You may well be in the insides of a creature.
Are the tongues sort of just feel stretching on as long as I can see?
There's not one long tongue. It is hundreds, maybe even thousands of these tiny, almost string-thin tongues.
But they don't stop, like, it's not like they're focused on an area. They're, like, all the way behind me as far as I can see.
Yeah, like the microscopic hairs on the insides of a blood vessel.
Yeah, I definitely get that feeling that we are inside almost the stomach of this Titan. I could see what people are trying to... But it's... Yes, why would they vault past that? Past that, surely there must just be... a stomach. I don't know. Not a place where people would keep things. So I feel that the instinct is correct. And I urge the rest of the party to keep going.
As we're running, a thought comes to mind. Quick experiment. I will cast the cantrip Minor Illusion to make a sound. Just the sound of someone going, "Ah!" And I cast it behind us. And I, as I'm running, try and just see if these things react to the sound.
Very good. So your cantrip exclaims down the tunnel, and to your dismay, this thing does not appear to be sound-based at all.
Yes, no, experiment, keep running.
And I'm just belting forward. I've drawn my my dagger, and I'm just looking around, almost panicked because I'm just trying to move so quickly. What do I see here?
As you're darting up, I'm going to give you the choice because your head is suddenly drawn to look left because a mouth opens in the wall beside you with visible human-looking teeth, and it screams and one of these tongues looks ready to emerge. Do you want to stab out at it or just keep marching forward, bearing in mind you're at the front of the group?
Knowing that I take my dagger and I thrust it right into this tongue, trying to ensure that it doesn't get me or nor my compatriots.
Very good. I'm not going to make you roll for that. You stab your dagger into the mouth, and a gout of yellowish, pinkish blood just spits out into your face. There's a slightly satisfying feeling to doing so, followed by the immediate dread of all the mouths that open around you, above, below, and to your right side as well. I'd like all of you to make a dexterity roll.
And acrobatics is alright, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Shall I roll for me or for Klarsik?
Klarsik, please.
I get a 22.
Oh, good. You're fine. You scamper like you have never scampered before.
11.
Less so.
Klarsik gets 17.
Wow, okay. And Dread also gets 17. Seeing your warlock dropping behind as all of this is going on, is anybody going to slow to try and assist Kadar? Or is it a case of every Asathi and Slytherin for himself at this point?
Well, if he's falling behind, I'll probably try and pull him up on my mount as well.
I'm too focused probably on just running forward since I'm at the very front of it, so I have no idea what's awaiting there, so my focus is fully on that.
I tell Klarsik to claw away at any face he sees that gets in his way.
Okay, I would like for... let's see... I'd like for Kadar to do a quick dexterity roll again, please. See whether you can get on Klarsik before he is taken with smashing these mouths that are in the walls.
In the few seconds I have remaining, does it seem as if I don't make this jump, I'm going to be completely devoured from behind?
It's certainly not going to go well for you.
In that case, I think it's much better if I cast Misty Step to teleport myself 30 feet forwards instantaneously.
As Klarsik turns briefly to see whether you're about to leap onto his expansive back, you disappear into a shade of crackling mist and appear up ahead of the rest of the group.
I am a bit dumbfounded by this, but I draw my sword and I start swinging it around at the heads as we stop, and I try to urge Klarsik to move forward. I try to start cutting away at these now as they are appearing everywhere.
But you don't slow down, I assume. You're just stabbing and moving.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Very good. You you find a tunnel, I should say, suddenly widening, and you don't know what's on the other side. There's a precipice. You find yourself opening out into another room, but you don't know how deep it is. You're just going to jump, leap of faith. You're going to take your time. Bear in mind, Kadar, right now, you're at the front, so I'm giving Kadar the decision here.
Well, again, as my eyes adjust, what do I actually see? Do I generally just see a black void, even?
If you imagine a tunnel opening up at the very top of a cliff face. So the ceiling is directly above you. Over the ledge is a drop. If you want to take the time to look down, let your eyes adjust and see what's down there, that's fine. It means these creatures will get a turn to attack your companions. If you want to just jump, praise Mormo and hope that you land safely, you can do that too, and it means everyone else will get to do the same.
Well, damn it all. I ready myself. I am nimble after all. And I jump.
And everyone follows?
I try to maneuver so that we go into a climbing position instead and climb downwards.
I believe I follow in the jump. You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Role-Playing, where we play the adventure The Great Vilhaim Heist for Scarred Lands for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Our Dungeon Master was the gentleman gamer, Matthew Dawkins, and we would like to thank him and Onyx Path Publishing for doing this actual play production together with us. The music was made by Ager Sonus and Lesa Listvi, and was used with permission from their label, Cryo Chamber. You can find more delicious dark ambient at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel. If you want to support Red Moon Roleplaying, do check out our Patreon. The show would not be possible without all the generous support we are getting there. You give us so much energy, help us cover our costs, and open up time to record and edit. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And remember, praise Mormo.